Hey, shalom, shalom. Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Barak Atham. Hey, we want to go into the book of Hosea, chapter 2. This will be part of the video series on the book of Hosea. I did a chapter 1 already. Okay, so we're just going to keep it one chapter at a time. And each chapter is going to be progressively going further into detail in regards to what the chapter is teaching, okay? We're not going to go over chapter 1 in this video. Just jumping straight into chapter 2, so I'm not going to do a recap, all right? Book of Hosea, chapter 2 and verse 1. Say ye unto your brethren, Ami, and to your sisters, Ruhamah. Plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight and her adulteries from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her as a wilderness and set her like a dry land and slay her with thirst. And I will not have mercy upon her children, for they be the children of whoredoms. For their mother hath played the harlot. She that conceived them have done shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers that give me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, mine oil and my drink. Therefore, behold, I will hedge up thy way with thorns and make a wall that she shall not find her paths. So I want to go into something real quick. What's going on right now is the Lord is speaking through Hosea. We know that he had him take a wife of whoredoms. Right now, the parable is lining up where what's going on with Hosea and his wife is parallel with the nation of Israel, okay? Hosea understands truly how the Lord feels now because of this parable, because of the fact that he had to take a wife of whoredoms, just as Israel is the wife of whoredoms to the Lord, okay? Now, it's talking about Israel's lovers. These are the other nations that we go whoring after. These are the other nations that we go to follow. We go to seek after these other nations and their gods for whatever reason, and we leave Yahweh, our power, behind. And so that's why he calls them your lovers. Go be with those people who you've been running around with, who you've been playing with, right? Who you've been messing around on me with. Go be with them, right? And so the Lord is saying in verse 6 that he's going to hedge up the way with thorns and will make a wall that she will not find her paths. So there's going to come a time when the Lord is going to take the spirit off of Israel and they're not going to be able to find the old paths. They're not going to be able to find the direction that they used to be in. They're not going to be able to come back and seek the Lord properly, okay? And this is going to be a part of the punishment. Verse 7, and she shall follow after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them. And she shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then was it better with me than now. For she did not know that I gave her corn and wine and oil and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. So, you know, Israel is stupid, man. We talk about this all the time. We are sadish children. We're the type of people that when the Lord gave us X, Y, and Z as a blessing, we look to the other gods, man, and we thank the other gods. And let's look at what's going on right now. We got people who are Muslims. We got people who want to follow damn Buddhism, want to damn have chakra pictures up in their house and have stones and they burning sage. Israel is simple, man. Isaiah 1:3 said what? It says the ox knoweth his owner and the ass his master crib, but Israel does not know. Israel does not consider. This is exactly where we at. All right. And as a sottish people, as a stiff-necked sottish people, you know, we disappointing the Lord time and time again. And not only are we disappointing him, but it's almost like this. Let's say you got a wife and you take care of that wife, you do everything for her. And now you come home and all the stuff you bought for her, she out with some other dude, giving him the credit for all that stuff you bought. That's what Israel was doing. Israel was thanking the other gods for their harvest, thanking the other gods for their increase. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's talking about we will follow after our lovers. right? We will seek them and not find them. Like, we're going to search diligently for the other gods, man, but they're not going to come and save you. They're not going to get you up out of this. What the Lord's getting ready to bring on you is going to destroy you totally. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Verse number 8. For she did not know that I gave her corn and wine and oil and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. Therefore will I return and take away my corn in the time thereof, and my wine in the season thereof, and will recover my wool and my flax given to cover her nakedness. And now will I discover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and none shall deliver her out of my hand. Right? That's Deuteronomy 28:68. And none shall buy you. Nobody will redeem you from this. Verse 11. I will cause also her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and her solemn feasts. And I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, whereof she has said, these are my rewards that my lovers have given me. And I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. Verse 13. And I will visit upon her the days of Baalim, wherein she burned incense to them and decked herself with earrings and her jewels. And she went after her lovers and forgot me, saith the Lord. Now, a lot of things happened so far. Let's jump back to verse 11 real fast. Let's jump back to verse 11 real fast. It says, I will cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and her solemn feasts. Right? Now, what does this remind us of? Let's go. We don't even need to go into Hosea for no precepts, but let's get Jeremiah 17:4. Right? And once again, the book of Hosea is speaking primarily to the northern kingdom. So we do want to keep that in mind. And Jeremiah 17:4 is written specifically to the southern kingdom, although it can be used in many different stances and positions, because we understand that this verse is true for everybody, not only Judah. But let's read it. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. But you have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. So that's Jeremiah 17:4. And guess what? When the Lord says that he's gonna cause your feast days to stop, your new moons, your Sabbaths, and your solemn feasts, that's you losing your heritage, because those feast days are a part of your heritage. That's a part of the covenant. That's a part of your inheritance from the Lord. Okay, those laws, statutes, and commandments. All right. So let's get to verse 14. This is where the actual breakdown and the concepts within the chapter start to come in. The beginning of the chapter itself is just kind of letting you know where the Lord is, how he feels about all this, and kind of continues with the parable of, how Israel is the whorish wife that's stepping out on the covenant of marriage, right? So now let's get into the book of Hosea chapter 2, where the doctrines start coming in, right? The breakdowns start coming in. Verse 14. Let me scroll up. Verse 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. So the Lord said, therefore, because all these things are happening, I'm going to bring her into the wilderness, and there I'm going to speak with her comfortably. Okay, let's understand what this wilderness period looks like. Let's get Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 35 to understand this wilderness. Ezekiel 20 and verse 35. Okay. And you can really start at verse 34, because what's going to happen? The Lord is going to punish us. He's going to cause our feast days, our solemn assemblies, our Sabbaths to stop. How is that going to happen? Because we're going to be carried into captivity, correct? All right. So when we carried into captivity, all of our feast days by default have to stop. So now we find ourselves in a situation where we are in captivity. Well, now let's read the book of Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 34. It says, and I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered with a mighty hand, with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. So that's the Lord bringing you into the wilderness. That's the Lord bringing you into the wilderness. That's after we are gathered from the four corners and brought into the wilderness. Now, what that wilderness looks like, I couldn't draw a picture of it, right? But I could say this. This is the place where you are put into the bond of the covenant. And let's continue to read so we can get that. Verse 36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness in the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Lord. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. So the Lord is telling you that this wilderness period is where you are going to be brought into the covenant. It also goes on to say that he's going to purge out the rebels in the wilderness, right? Which is also another thing that happened when we left Egypt. Okay, so we got to look at all of these things. The book of Hosea is telling us that when the northern kingdom is brought back into subjection under the covenant and back into right standing with the Lord, they got to go through that wilderness period first. All right. And that's also echoed in Revelation chapter 12 and verse 14. So let's get that. Okay. And instead of reading the entire, breakdown for Revelation 12, we're just going to read the verse. But that would be a separate lesson in itself. Revelation chapter 12. It says, and to the woman were given wings of a great eagle. That woman represents Zion. All right. That she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. So look at that. You going into the wilderness. That's once the Lord gathers you from the four corners, you're going into the wilderness. All right. And that's what he's going to nourish you for a certain amount of time. All right. Let's get back into Hosea chapter 2, verse 15. Okay. Hosea 2, 15. Come. And I will give her vineyards from thence in the valley of Achor for a door of hope, and she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt. Once again, a reference to that second Exodus, right? We just read about that in Ezekiel 20. Verse 16, and it shall be at that day, saith the Lord, that thou shalt call me Ishi, and shalt call me no more Baali. So that's the Lord telling you that there's going to come a point in time when you're going to be in the covenant and you're going to call me your husband. You're not going to call me your Lord. You're going to call me your husband, because we're going to be one. We're going to be back in the bond of the covenant. You're going to be acting as a proper wife, and the Lord's going to be a proper husband, and you're going to be in subjection, and you're going to be in order. All right. That's what that verse is saying. Verse 17. For I will take away the names of Baalim out of thy mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by thy name, by their name. All right. Verse 18. And in that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely. So when the Lord said that he's going to make a covenant with the beasts of the field, he's not talking about making a covenant with the cows and the horses. He's saying he's going to make a covenant with the other nations who are less than Adam. Okay? If we remember properly, when we go back to Genesis, Adam was put in charge of all the creatures, and he was to give them names. It was Adam who was to put them into, in order under his rulership, under his dominion. So right now, verse 18 is telling us that the Lord is going to reinstitute that same order. He's going to make a covenant with the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven and with the creeping things of the ground, and will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, which is an echo of what happens in the book of Isaiah chapter 2, 1 through 4. So let's get that. Let's get that. Once again, we know that these are end time prophecies because we're talking about when the northern kingdom will be gathered, which has not happened yet. We're talking about being brought back into the bond of the covenant, which is the new covenant. And we're talking about there should be war no more, right? So we know that these are end time prophecies and they have not happened yet. All right, let's get the book of Isaiah chapter 2. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen real quick. Okay. The word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. Now, this prophecy is concerning the southern kingdom. You're going to see me say that a lot because when you're doing a chapter breakdown, you got to understand who the prophecy pertains to. But when we're talking about end time prophecy, we know that the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom are going to be back together. So a lot of end time prophecies, whether it's talking about the northern kingdom or the southern kingdom, is going to apply to both because they're going to be back together in the end times. Okay, so right here, the book of Hosea is obviously speaking of the northern kingdom, and Isaiah speaking of the southern kingdom, but these are both end time prophecies. All right, so let's read that. Verse 2, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. This is the rulership and dominion of the saints of the Most High God. All right. Daniel chapter 2 and 44 tells you that in the days of those kings shall be a dominion set up, an everlasting dominion set up. All right. This is that everlasting dominion. Verse 3, and many people shall go and come and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord of the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways. We will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Verse 4, and he shall draw among the Salakia, and he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Same thing we just read about in Hosea. In the end times, they will learn war no more, because the Lord says what? At the second half of verse 18, and I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely. Verse 19, this is the wedding feast, and I will betroth thee unto me forever. Yea, I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness and in judgment and in loving kindness and in mercies, right? And I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know the Lord. So this is being betrothed back into the covenant with the Lord. A lot of different parables and metaphors to say the same thing. Being betrothed, right? Being calling him Ishi instead of Baali. All of these different parables and similitudes are used to explain that you're going to be back in covenant with the Lord. All right, as an Israelite. Okay. Verse 21, and it shall come to pass that that day I will hear, saith the Lord, I will hear the heavens, and they shall hear the earth, and the earth shall hear the corn and the wine and the oil, and they shall hear Jezreel. Now, when it says the word hear in the Hebrew, we could pull that up, right? But the word hear means answer. Let me pull that up in the Bible Hub for you real quick, because we want to demonstrate everything. We want to demonstrate everything. Okay, so stop that share. Let's start a brand new one. Boom. Okay, we're gonna pull this up. Now look at this. Verse 21, and it shall come to pass in that day, I will hear, saith the Lord. Look at this. I will answer. It says it again. I will answer, and they shall answer the earth. Let's keep going. And the earth shall answer with grain. And they shall answer. What does it mean to answer? They're going to respond. They're going to respond. Because if we remember the story of the book of Genesis, what happened? What was the curse that the Lord gave to Adam? It was Genesis 3 and 17. Let's get it. Let's get it. Genesis 3 and 17 says what? And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shall thou eat of it all the days of thy life. So look at that. The Lord cursed the ground. The ground is no longer going to yield its fruit unto Adam, unto the chosen people, unto the chosen nation, the chosen lineage. Why? Because they didn't listen to the word of the Lord. Okay? But the reversal of that curse is explained right here in Hosea chapter 2, verse 21. Because the Lord says it will come to pass in that day that I will answer, said the Lord. I will answer the heavens, and they will answer the earth. And the earth will answer or respond to the corn and the wine, and respond to the oil, and they shall respond to Jezreel. In chapter 1, we learn that Jezreel is the representation of the nation of Israel, okay, the northern kingdom. And so in that day, the earth is going to respond to you. It's going to answer you. It's no longer going to be cursed, because when the Lord reverses the curses, he reverses all of them. All right. That's why the book of Revelation tells us, and there shall be no more curse, right? In the book of Revelation chapter 22. All right. So let's get Hosea 2 and 23. And once again, we can go a little bit deeper, but really we just want to give you the starting point to understand what this book is teaching. Verse 23, and I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. And I will say to them which were not my people, thou art my people. And they shall say, thou art my God. All right. And that verse right there is reversing what happened in Hosea chapter 1 and verse 5, right? And it shall come to pass at that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. Okay. And let's jump down to verse 9. Then said God, call his name Lo Ami, for you are not my people, and I will not be your God. So this is the Lord saying, listen, you are not my wife, man. We are not in covenant together. I don't even know you. Depart from me, you worker of iniquity. So the Lord kicked you out the house. But there will come a time when he will have mercy unto you. And when you come back to the house, it's going to be well clean and well prepared for you. And all of the good things are going to be prepared. The bath water is already running. The rose petals on the floor. You see what I'm saying? The Lord's rolling out the red carpet for when you come back, man. Just like the parable of the prodigal son, right? The one son who leaves, the other son stays, and when the son who left returns, they throw a great feast. That's what we're talking about. The Lord is going to prepare a great feast for you when you come back. All right, and he's going to have mercy on them who were not his people. And he's going to say, thou art my people, and they will say, thou art my God. All right. So that's Hosea chapter 2. You got a couple of different concepts in there. Once again, you got the new covenant, you got the second Exodus, you got the marriage of the wedding feast, you got some end time prophecies, you got the reversal of some curses, right? So the book of Hosea chapter 2, man, is really deep chapter. Next time we get together, we're going to be going through chapter 3. And chapter 3 is also a very excellent chapter. But we're just going to do 3 by itself. We're going to keep that one short. And then from there, we'll go to chapter 4. All right. So join us next time. Shalom.